Welcome to my channel Limelight Leaks. Please share and subscribe and hit the bell icon for new updates. To that place in us where we're not stopping ourselves or trying to do it perfect or right, but rather connect to whatever it is we're trying to say. In the special world of Hollywood legends, few voices are as important as Al Pacino. All I have in this world is my guts and my word, and I don't. For over 50 years, his powerful acting and deep emotions have changed screen acting, creating an amazing legacy from The Godfather to Scarface to Heat. Behind Pacino's exciting performances is a strong, almost religious love for acting. A commitment that has made working with him both life-changing and foursome scary. While Pacino has made legendary partnerships with actors like Robert De Niro and directors like Sidney Lumet, not every actor has earned his respect at work. Some have met the quiet strength of his disapproval, a judgment as crushing as it is final in the movie world's hidden ranking system. These actors, despite being famous elsewhere, found themselves unable to meet Pacino's tough standards. Standards he uses on himself with harsh honesty. Acting is fighting against fake behaviors until something real comes out. Pacino once said during a rare AFI Looking Back event, "Not everyone has the guts for that fight." For these 6 actors, their meetings with Pacino showed not just work disagreements, but basic differences in artistic ideas, creating tensions that show the hidden crack lines running beneath Hollywood's shiny surface. Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp's crash with Al Pacino during Donnie Brasco in 1997 shows one of movies' most interesting studies in different generations of acting styles. Cast as undercover FBI agent Joseph Pistone opposite Pacino's aging hitman Lefty Ruggiero, Depp came on set with his growing reputation for weird character building, a technique that reportedly confused Pacino's Morrigat-feeling approach. Al expected a different kind of getting ready, said director Mike Newell to Empire magazine years later. Johnny would build Donnie from outside details. The walk, specific hand movements, the rhythm of speech. For Al, everything had to come from an emotional center, a mind connection so complete it was almost like being possessed. The basic disconnect showed up during the film's important restaurant scene where Lefty teaches Donnie about mob manners. According to production designer Donald Graham Burt, Pacino got more and more annoyed when Depp approached the scene with what Pacino saw as technical distance rather than emotional diving in. There was this moment between takes. Burt told for a Vanity Fair oral history where Al suddenly turned to Johnny and said, "Where are you right now? Because you're not here with me." The set went completely quiet, though keeping professional politeness throughout. Filming, crew members noticed Pacino's growing frustration with Depp's method, especially his habit of staying partly in character between takes, rather than making the total mind commitment Pacino thought was essential. The tension became so obvious that producer Barry Levinson reportedly had to help settle several creative discussions that threatened to mess up key scenes. As Pacino mysteriously said to a film student at Actor Studio years later, "Some actors create characters, others show themselves through characters. The problem comes when those two types try to live in the same reality." Leonardo DiCaprio. The competitive tension between Al Pacino and Leonardo DiCaprio during 2019's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood showed an interesting study in acting ideas across generations. Though not sharing direct scenes, their same time presence in Tarantino's Big Hollywood movie created what crew members described as parallel universes of getting ready that sometimes crashed during filming. According to first assistant director William Paul Clark, the difference in their approaches became immediately clear. Leo would arrive hours early to talk about historical background and character psychology with researchers he'd personally hired. Clark told Total Film magazine, Al would show up exactly on time, look at the script pages once, then give a performance so naturally lived in, it seemed impossible he hadn't been getting ready for months. This basic difference reached its peak during Audible Red, where DiCaprio presented long notes on industry workings of the late 1960s, causing Pacino to reportedly comment within hearing distance. "Their search department is down the hall. We're in the acting department here." Their creative disconnect went beyond methods to basic views on performance itself. Costume designer Arianne Phillips noticed that DiCaprio asked for multiple fittings to find physical aspects of his character, while Pacino made immediate decisions based on gut emotional connections toward robe choices. Leo approached his character like a researcher writing a school paper, Phillips observed. Al approached his like a jazz musician, finding the right note in the moment. Though keeping professional politeness, Pacino was heard in the production office questioning the value of DiCaprio's thorough preparation to longtime partner Martin Scorsese, suggesting it created technical exactness at the cost of spontaneous life. When specifically asked about working alongside DiCaprio, Pacino gave his most telling comment. Every generation has to discover the wheel for themselves. Some need to measure every spoke before they start rolling. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise's legendary intensity crashed spectacularly with Al Pacino's raw emotional approach during pre-production for the 2003 Michael Mann thriller Collateral, creating one of Hollywood's most interesting casting reversals. Initially planned to play the thinking hitman Vincent opposite Pacino's world-weary taxi driver, Cruise's step-by-step control-focused approach reportedly created immediate friction during character workshops. Tom arrived with this incredibly detailed backstory for Vincent. Remembered casting director Francine Meisler to The Hollywood Reporter. He had researched contract killers, studied their psychology, even trained with gun experts. Al watched this presentation with increasing discomfort, before finally saying, "I don't need to know where the character went to elementary school. I need to know what he's feeling in the moment." This basic clash of techniques, Cruise's careful construction versus Pacino's gut-feeling immersion, reportedly reached a peak in a tense improvisation exercise where Pacino abandoned the script entirely to get authentic reactions. According to Mann, who later carefully restructured the production, Pacino became visibly frustrated with what he saw as Cruise's actory approach, commenting between takes, "All this homework is wonderful, but at some point, you have to set fire to the library and see what happens." The idea divide was further made worse by their contrasting physical approaches to character, with Cruise's precisely planned movements standing in stark contrast to Pacino's more unpredictable organic physicality. Production designer Janine Opawal, witnessed early camera tests, noted, "Tom wanted every gesture mapped out and practiced to perfection. Al considered such exactness the enemy of truth." The creative dead end ultimately led to the film's famous reconfiguration with Cruise shifting to the hitman role while Jamie Foxx replaced Pacino as the cabbie, a casting change that reshaped the entire project. Years later, when asked about Cruise at the Venice Film Festival, Pacino offered his most telling assessment. "There are actors who design beautiful houses. I prefer the ones who live in them, even if the furniture gets broken sometimes." Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey's calculated exactness created an unbridgeable divide with Al Pacino during the filming of Glengarry Glen Ross in 1992. A production that showed basic differences in their artistic ideas. Adapted from David Mamet's Pulitzer Prize-winning play about desperate real estate salesmen, the film paired Spacey's coldly efficient office manager with Pacino's falling apart salesman Ricky Roma. According to director James Foley, their contrasting approaches created an interesting tension that went beyond the scripted antagonism. Kevin would approach scenes like a chess player, planning several moves ahead, Foley said in a Directors Guild Looking Back event. Al worked purely on gut feeling and emotional connection. He found Kevin's analytical approach almost insulting to the creative process. The conflict became clear during the film's climactic confrontation scene, where crew members reported Pacino becoming increasingly frustrated with Spacey's controlled performance style. Production designer Jane Muskie remembered a particularly tense moment. After a take where Kevin delivered a perfectly measured performance, Al pulled James aside and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "He's not acting. He's demonstrating acting." The atmosphere on set became electric after that. Their idea divide extended to rehearsal methods as well. Script supervisor Diane Dreyer noticed that Spacey would carefully mark his script with technical notes about timing and emphasis, a practice that visibly annoyed Pacino, who preferred to discover the scene's emotional truth in the moment. They represented two completely different schools, observed co-star Ed Harris. Kevin constructed his performance with architect-like exactness. Al approached his like Amithad jazz musician, following emotional impulses wherever they led. When specifically asked about working with Spacey years later during an actor studio masterclass, Pacino offered his most telling comment. "Some actors perform, others reveal. The audience can always tell the difference." Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman's legendary perfectionism crashed catastrophically with Al Pacino's gut-feeling approach during their brief collaboration on Sidney Lumet's unrealized Project Attica in 1974, creating one of Hollywood's most interesting creative divorces. Initially thought of as a powerful drama about the infamous prison uprising, the production fell apart largely due to the idea gap between its intended stars. They represented two basically different religions of acting, Lumet later confided to his biographer, Frank Rich. Dustin needed to understand every motivation, every psychological detail. He'd spend hours questioning the smallest details. All wanted to absorb the character's emotional reality and live inside it without intellectual cutting apart. This method disconnect became apparent during preliminary character workshops where Hoffman, reportedly arrived with extensive prison research, sociological data, and detailed questions about character biography. According to Assistant Director Alan Hopkins, who witnessed their initial sessions, Pacino became increasingly withdrawn as Hoffman presented his step-by-step approach, finally exploding with the observation, "We're not performing autopsies here. We're trying to breathe life into something." The tension got worse when Hoffman suggested filming actual prison locations chronologically to build authentic character progression, a technical approach that Pacino dismissed as confusing the map with the territory. Production designer Anna Hill Johnston remembered the breaking point. During an improvisation exercise, Dustin kept stopping to analyze motivations. Al finally threw his hands up and said, "At some point, you have to stop building the violin and play the damn music." Jared Leto. Jared Leto's immersive method techniques created an unbridgeable divide with Al Pacino during the production of House of Gucci in 2021, showing a generational clash in acting ideas that fascinated industry observers. Cast as Paolo Gucci opposite Pacino's Aldo Gucci, Leto arrived on set having undergone his trademark physical transformation, complete with fake face parts, accent work, and the controversial practice of staying in character between takes. According to production designer Arthur Max, Pacino's initial curiosity about Leto's approach quickly gave way to visible annoyance. Al watched Jared's elaborate preparation ritual with increasing disbelief, Max told Variety. The tension reached its peak during filming of their contentious father-son confrontation scenes. First Assistant Director Giuseppe Bonagurar remembered a particularly telling moment. After a take where Jared stayed in his Paolo persona while discussing technical adjustments, Al turned to Ridley Scott and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Tell the kid the scene is over. He can come back now." Pacino's conflicts with these 6 actors reveal the deep divide between technical exactness and emotional truth in acting. Each performer met his disapproval, not through lack of talent, but through basically different artistic ideas. In Pacino's world, authenticity requires stripping away fake stuff rather than perfecting it. Allison that goes beyond acting to touch the essence of human connection itself. If you've enjoyed exploring these interesting creative tensions, hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into cinema's invisible battlegrounds.